There is a common assumption about power that distorts how people recognize it. Most believe that strength is loud, that influence must announce itself, that true capability reveals itself through constant demonstration. This belief is not only incorrect, it creates a fundamental misreading of who holds actual control in any given situation. The world mistakes visibility for potency. It equates reaction with engagement, volume with conviction, and constant motion with effectiveness. But these are surface-level indicators that reveal very little about what someone is capable of when it matters. The most dangerous people understand this deeply. They do not participate in the theater of aggression because they recognize it as inefficient, transparent, and ultimately weak. Calm is not the absence of capacity. It is the presence of control so complete that external provocation becomes irrelevant. When someone remains still while chaos unfolds around them, it is not because they lack the ability to respond. It is because they have already calculated whether response serves their interest. Most of the time, it does not. Reacting to every stimulus is not strength. It is fragmentation. It scatters attention, exposes motive, and hands others the ability to predict your behavior. Quiet people are often mistaken for passive observers. This is a critical error. Silence is not vacancy, it is data collection in real time. While others speak to fill space, to assert presence, to manage their own discomfort, the quiet individual is absorbing tone, detecting inconsistency, mapping relationships, and understanding what is not being said. Every conversation contains more than words. There are patterns of evasion, moments of hesitation, shifts in posture that signal vulnerability or deception. The person who speaks less sees more. They are not waiting for permission to act. They are waiting for clarity about whether action is warranted. Selectivity is where this type of power becomes truly formidable. Most people distribute their energy without strategy. They respond to everything that demands attention, engage in every conflict, defend every slight, and attempt to control every outcome. This is exhausting and ultimately ineffective. The selective individual operates from a different principle entirely. They understand that not every battle matters, that most conflicts are distractions, and that true influence comes from deciding which moments deserve full investment. When energy is conserved, it becomes potent. When attention is focused rather than scattered, it cuts through noise with precision. The selective person does not need to be everywhere or involved in everything. They need only to act when the consequences are significant and the moment is right. This creates a strange dynamic that others find unsettling. Someone can remain silent through weeks of noise, unmoved by drama, and then act once with such clarity and impact that the entire situation shifts. The contrast is disorienting. People forget that stillness can coexist with readiness. This is not about withholding emotion or suppressing genuine response. It is about understanding that most reactions serve no functional purpose beyond making the reactor feel temporarily validated. Emotional regulation does not mean emotional absence. It means emotions are recognized, processed internally, and then released or channeled, depending on whether they serve long-term clarity. Anger does not automatically justify action. Frustration does not require performance. Discomfort does not need to be broadcast. The individual who masters this appears almost unnervingly composed. They do not escalate when provoked. They do not defend when accused. They do not explain when misunderstood. This is not because they lack pride or conviction. It is because they have already determined that the opinion of the accuser, the provocation of the aggressor, or the misunderstanding of the observer does not alter their position. They are anchored by internal standards, not external validation. This makes them difficult to manipulate, impossible to bait, and remarkably hard to predict. What makes this dangerous is not the capacity for harm. It is the capacity for decisive, unannounced action when it becomes necessary. Most people telegraph their intentions long before they move. They threaten, they warn, they broadcast frustration until everyone knows exactly what is coming. The calm, quiet, selective individual does none of this. They reach a conclusion privately. They make a decision without consultation. And when they act, it is not preceded by fanfare or justification. It simply happens. The element of surprise is not theatrical, it is structural. No one expected movement because there was no visible preparation. This creates a particular kind of respect, often mixed with unease. People are accustomed to reading social cues that signal danger, raised voices, aggressive posture, visible anger. When those cues are absent, they assume safety, they assume passivity, they assume that silence equals surrender. Then, when action arrives without warning, it reframes everything that came before. The quiet was not weakness, it was assessment. The calm was not indifference, it was control. There is also a misunderstanding about what motivates this behavior. Some assume it is coldness, detachment, or a lack of care. This is incorrect. The selective individual often cares deeply, which is precisely why they refuse to waste energy on what does not matter. They understand that attention is finite, that emotional bandwidth has limits, and that protecting peace requires boundaries. Not everything deserves a reaction. Not everyone deserves access. Not every conflict deserves engagement. The danger lies in the fact that when these boundaries are crossed, the response is not emotional, it is structural. There is no anger to diffuse, no frustration to negotiate, no drama to manage. There is simply consequence, delivered with the same calm that preceded it. This is not cruelty, it is clarity. The person who operates this way has already determined what behavior they will tolerate and what they will not. They do not need to threaten because they do not bluff. They do not need to warn because they do not negotiate on core principles. Most people fear confrontation and thus avoid drawing lines until forced. The calm, quiet, selective individual does the opposite. They draw lines early, internally, and without announcement. They know what matters to them and what does not. They know where their energy goes and where it stops. They know who earns their trust and who does not. This clarity removes the need for constant adjustment, constant explanation, constant defense. They are not managing perception, they are managing reality. In the end, the most dangerous people are not those who shout the loudest or move the fastest. They are those who have internalized the logic of conservation, the value of observation, and the power of timing. They do not need the world to know what they are capable of, because they are not performing capability. They are applying it when it serves them. Their calm is not a mask. It is the natural state of someone who has nothing to prove and everything to protect. Their quiet is not submission. It is the sound of someone who knows exactly what they are doing and has no need to explain it. Their selectivity is not avoidance. It is precision. And when they finally move, it is already too late to adjust.